A person is a primitive primacy who has learned to write his next genome with silicon pencil. A few billions of years ago, the first living windows appeared on Earth that gradually began to turn into cyanobacteria. Oxygen photosynthesis began to prepare an atmosphere for complex forms of life. Another billion years passed and symbiosis of bacteria began to occur. Mitochondria appeared. Nuclear DNA, sexual process, and quick selection of signs appear. After another 600 million years, the first spastine fish began to evolve into various groups of animals. One of these groups was called pteropods. The limbs with the fingers lay the basic template of the future hand of primates. 66 million years ago, an asteroid flies to Yucatan. The death of dinosaurs occurs. Small insectivorous or proncting occupies empty niches. Paleocene, as soon as 500,000 years passed after the fall of the asteroid. Among the moist thickets of ferns, Purgatorius runs along the bark of charred trees, a beast the size of a modern mouse, but already with a primitive grip. Thumbs on the hind legs can clasp a branch. The sensitive scent picks up the sweet smell of fallen fruits, and moving ears, a rustle of larvae in a rotten bark. The animal is pulled up to the clusters of small berries Paleovitis, bites the skin with sharp incisors and licks the pulp. Tenacious claws lift the bark. The coin tongue grabs the beetle larva rich in protein. If you scare the flock of termites, Purgatorius spreads on the trunk, drawing insects like a miniature antided. Fruits for breakfast, insects and spiders for dinner. Nature gave him energy for year-round propagation and laid the foundation of food flexibility. Early Eocene, thick tropics cover Africa and Asia. An ideal scene for the three most ancient prototypes of monkeys. Altiatlasius, a tiny grape thief weighing less than a home mouse. At dawn, he climbs through thin branches, grabbing paws by arguing berries and soft fruits of a cycase palm. Hearing a rustle in the husk, he instantly pushes the bark and lifts the beetle's larva with a lobby tongue. Taillardina, the animal on elongated plus, he jumps along the vines like a mini lemur. A sharp jump into the crown of a flowering tree, a quick stripping of nectar, then a swift throw behind a moth, frightened by its own wing. Arcacibus, 3 inches tall, but with the eyes of the owl. At night, he hangs, clinging to the hind legs, and like a laser, fixes the dragonfly against the background of the moon. Simultaneous separation of both hands and lightning otic capture. Dragonfly does not even have time to wave his wings. In the morning, Arcacibus replaces the menu with a juicy fig, preserving precious calories overnight. The overgrown Manon deltas of the late Eocene-Oligocene offer 3 ancient monkeys their own culinary niches. 35 million years ago, Catapithecus lives on the territory of modern Egypt. Only 600 grams of mass, but already with incisors like a lute. At dawn, he descends along the vasals, where cicadas spend the night, on the leaves. A quick throw with palms, tweezers. An insect is swallowed. Then Catapithecus tears the soft bark of swamp figs and licks sweet latex, compensating for moisture in a semi-desert climate. 30 million years ago, Egyptopithecus appears. His body looks deceptive. It looks small, but weighs a lot. He has strong and powerful root teeth. It slowly forced the upper tier, looking for the masked fruits of ancient ficuses. The jaws squeeze the fruit, the juice flows, the pulp is crushed. Between meals, the monkey scraps the bark in search of larvae of beetles. This is a protein bonus to a plant diet. 29 million years ago, on the territory of Saudi Arabia, Sidonius lives. It looks like a cross between a monkey with a macaque. Long limbs throw the body into a series of jumps. Paws break acacia pods. Having crushed them with fangs, Sidonius licks the sweet pulp and mucous membranes that protect the plant. The tide brings Heaving's crab. He grabs one thing, a stab on the stone, and the shell cracks. Early Miocene of East Africa. 20 million years ago. Forests soar from dew and solar pear. Kenya. Proconsul monkey without tail but does not yet know how to walk on the ground. On thick branches, he moves like a four-legged choreographer. The front paws feel the branch. The rear ones are already stretching to the next. Having discovered a cluster of figs, Proconsul grabs the branch with footsteps, freezes upside down and plugs the most ripe fruits upside down. A larva rustling under the bark. The claw pulls the bark. The lobe tongue shoots at the protein bonus. Merodopithecus is already demonstrating the first rudiments of direct suspension. Tightening, the monkey hangs on the front paws, with free legs, pulls the flexible branches of acacia. The teeth cuts, cut off a young leaf rich in fiber and calcium. If a grasshopper is hidden in the foliage, Merodopithecus throws it into his mouth with one ledge of fingers. Under the moon, he descends to the ground and, muttering, collects the fruits that fall out while the predators are asleep. Spain, 12.5 million years ago. In the half-covered fog of bay forests, Catalonia rummages the summer city. Pyrrholopithecus, low, about 35 kilograms of weight, but the stocky male clings to the smooth trunk of the ancient laurel with his palms. A wide chest and little worn ribs allow you to deeply inhale in front of heavy jerks up. Its goal is a fruit with a maximum glucose content. Rising, he feels the salty smell of a thunderstorm and knows that ripe fruits were knocked down by hail. Pyrrholopithecus passes into the four-point stand on the thick branch, grabs the fruit bump with two hands, and breaks on the knot to make glass of bitter resin. He lifts the bark with his claw, and with his thumb, almost a modern look, pulls out a larva. Fruit, fat, is an ideal energy cocktail to feed the cub pressed to the wool on the female's stomach. Dryopithecus Fontenay, France, 11 million years ago. Dryopithecus. This is a heavy up to 45 kilograms of weight, fruit king with lemon yellow enamels. The forest of the south of France then is the subtropical reserve of figs, honey, and hibiscus. Drio enjoys a systematic robbery tactics. In the early morning, it passes with crowns until the sun is soft and the juices have left the fruits, and in 2 hours, it removes most of the crop. He wraps a clustered with his palm, tears off 3 or 4 ficus and folds into the latch pocket. But at noon, when the heat is strangled, Dryopithecus becomes a predator. He descends to the stream, where the semitone river crabs Potamon froze in silt. Putting his hand under the stone, the monkey takes out a crab and hits it on the boulder, breaking the shell. He doesn't need protein. A female with a newborn receives a pulp, a male reputation. Together with crabs, the production includes Sternotherus turtle's eggs. Dry sand is swept away by the paw. The shell is cut with sharp incisors. Uranopithecus macedonensis, North Greece, 9 to 7 million years. Uranopithecus lives on the border of the forest and savanna, where the bushes cross with dry beams. His teeth, with a thick enamel coating, speak of a heavy diet. An evening transition to the thickets of Acacia grebenica, the separation of heavy, hard pits, the splitting of them with powerful premolars. Sweet juice is not enough, but after the drought season, this is calories that no one will take away. But there is also a hunting for potassium. Uranopithecus flips stones in dry channels, scooping up salt crystals with his paw and mocrits adhering to them. Minerals help neutralize the tannins of acacia. Uranopithecus finding the carrion of the gazelle, tearing the tendon with fangs crush, taking out the remains of the bone marrow. Danuvius guggenmosi Bavaria, 11 million years ago. Legs are adapted to walk through the branches, but the hands of the chain are likely. Hunting shift occurs at dusk. Forest lights are fireflies that attract night moths. Danuvius selects a branch with a wrist thick, clings with his feet, and throws out network of the fingers free hands. A jerk, cotton, and a bloodworm in the palm of your hand. Danuvius breaks the young bamboo escape, puts his lips and sucks a watery core, replenishing electrolytes. After 20 minutes, the bamboo will begin to harden. Baronius Manfred Schmidti, Greece, 10 million years ago. Baronius is similar to a dwarf, only 15 to 20 kilograms, but with long hands of a wedge-shaped cross-section resembling a flying brush. Living along the coast of the Paleo-Ega Sea, he gains height along the slope of the pine, then stretches on the side branches, leaning his back on the trunk, and makes a sharp side climb to the neighboring pine tree, collecting the terry kidneys and larvae of the pine sawright. But its main innovation is when small Laris seagulls sit on the prison-burning boulders. Baronius tears a flat pebble and throws it on top, scaring the bird and knocking out the just-caught fish from the beak. The catch falls on the sand, and the monkey takes the gift of the sea. An internal analysis of micro-cracks on the shoulder showed high loads from shots, an indirect argument in favor of such tactics. Chad, 7 million years ago. Preventive cold of Sahel. Busy savanna is broken by rare swamps, where sedge stores the last moisture of the season. The Sahelanthropus male stretches a flat face over the grass. The occipital hole is already closer to the center of the skull, which means that the head holds human vertically. On the four limbs, he approaches the turnrat bush, grabs a handful of fleshy fruits, filling the cheeks. Then he straightens, walks with two legs along the shallow puddle, where the talls of the Triopsy swarm. A crunch of small shells is heard. Today in the menu, sugar plus protein. This is an all-law in conditions where the saber-toe predators rule out at night and there is little food in the afternoon. Kenyan Hills Tugan, 6 million years ago. The slopes of the escarp in the morning throw long shadows. Ororin, growth with modern chimpanzees, rises on strong femoral bones. Their spherical heads are already suitable for confident bipedia. First, a two-legged rise to the parking of the pastry, who threw the Podocarpus archers. Ororin quickly collects the remains, then sharply stands on all fours, a daring jerk to the acacia trunk, where nightly cathidids are swarmed in the bark. Long fingers pick up insects until the branches surrender under the weight of the body. Pre-motion, 70% nut-like seeds, 30% of large insects. This is a calorie mix for muscle training. Ethiopia, 5 million years ago. In the mosaic of gallery forests and open fingers, Ardi walks on half-bent legs, but the foot is still clinging to a thumb with a thumb. Take a look at the morning route of the female. She bends the fifth branch, breaks 4 fruits, but eats only the pulp, spitting the seeds under the root. A small stone is broken by the Macrotermes termite. The sticky tongue and tenacious fingers collect insects. Protein gets the cubs. Ardipithecus, with a two-legged step, crosses the stream along the fallen barrel. There the grass is thickening, and the frogs of Pityginaea are hidden. One lightning move of the hand, and amphibians disappears into the mouth. Ardipithecus combine wood dexterity and ground economy. 50% fruits, 25% insects, 15% small amphibians, 10% tubers. Such a hybrid diet allows you to survive climate fluctuations when the forest retreats and the savanna occurs. Australopithecus anamensis, 4 million years ago, East Africa. Australopithecus anamensis was a real pioneer of savanna. At dawn by the Lake of Turkin, the female anamensis slowly moves among shrubs. She is already firmly standing on 2 legs, but the brushes are still strong. As if in forest monkeys, she walks along the shallow water, looking for sedge rich in starch. Strong jaws are crushing hard fiber. Noticing the beetle larvae in wet roots, Australopithecus carefully picks them out with long fingers. The menu is simple: but effective. The fibrous rhizomes and larvae provide calories for a vague lifestyle. Australopithecus afarensis. This ancestor of a modern person has always used hybrid hunting. Australopithecus diaremida, 3.5 million years ago, Ethiopia. At the same time when Lucy lived, diaremida appears in neighboring valleys. His strong teeth speak of a diverse diet. He collects seeds, fruits, and in the dry season switches to tubers and stems of plants. Sometimes, small animals fall into the diet. These are frogs, salamanders, birds, which diaremida deftly enough waiting in the bushes. 3 million years ago, Ethiopia, Tanzania. Lucy and her family move between light forests and dry savannas. Growth just above 3 feet. They are two-legged, but sometimes they climb trees. Their diet: fruits, tubers, insects, and sometimes small animals. The male finds turtle eggs in loose sand, splitting them with a stone. The female rises to the branch, breaking the ripened fruits of baobab. Sometimes a group of Australopithecus quickly surrounds a small rodent or lizard, driving a dead end and quickly grabbing their hands. Australopithecus africanus, 3 million years ago, South Africa. South African savanna, dry season. The Africanus male carefully moves along the editorial. It is a little stronger than Lucy, with massive jaws and large teeth covered with thick enamel. Raising a heavy stone, he breaks the strong shells of marula nuts and eats nutrient nuclei. Its large premolars easily grind rough seeds and roots. Sometimes he finds a termite, destroying him with a stick to collect termites rich in protein. Australopithecus prometheus, 3 million years ago, South Africa. In the caves of Sterkfontein, Littlefoot masters the dungeon. It is small, but skillfully balances in the darkness, using long arms and dexterous fingers. She takes out from wet cave passages the tubers rich in nutrients and edible mushrooms that others cannot find. Sometimes it catches bats and insects resting in the dark corners of the cave. This is a unique example of the specialization of Australopithecus on the cave ecosystem. Kenyanthropus platyops, 3 million years ago, Kenya. On the shores of the ancient lake of Turkan, among dense reeds, Kenyanthropus platyops moves. He looks like Australopithecus, but his wide, flat face and small tooths allow you to eat differently. It walks along the marshy shores and carefully collects soft aquatic plants, edible roots, and tubers. Fingers carefully stretch water snails and mollusks from shallow water. His flat face facilitates the extraction of delicate pulp from shells, and small teeth are ideal for crushing soft, watery plant foods and invertebrates. Platyops avoids competition with other hominids, choosing his own niche. Australopithecus garhi, 2.5 million years ago, Ethiopia. Garhi is a slender Australopithecus with proportions close to human. He first begins to use primitive stone tools for processing meat. Noticing the remnants of the antelope left by the lions, the garhi carefully approaches, waving a stick, driving away hyenas. He takes a sharp stone and quickly cuts off pieces of meat, breaks the bones, caking out the bone marrow. A rare and high-calorie treat. Stone guns, for the first time, expand the Australopithecus menu at the expense of animal foods. Australopithecus sediba. 2 million years ago, South Africa. Sediba is an amazing transitional form that combines signs of Australopithecus and the first representatives of the genus Homo. He is two-legged but skillfully climbs trees. He collects berries and juicy leaves from trees. When the Sediba notices small prey, he carefully creeps up and suddenly rushes forward, grabbing the animal with both hands. Stones are used to break the nuts or shells of freshwater mollusks. Australopithecus is not just primitive, two-legged creatures, but flexible and various hunters-gatherers who can use different production strategies. They laid the foundation for food flexibility, which later became the most important condition for the survival and prosperity of our ancestors. Homo habilis. 2 million years ago, East Africa. In the vastness of Tanzania, in the early morning, the male Homo habilis, a skillful man, stands over a carcass of an antelope killed by a lion at night. Habilis not only collects food, he is the first to make tools. With a stone reeve in his hands, he quickly cuts off pieces of meat from the carcass. This is a strategy for an active scavenger who is in a hurry to get ahead of hyenas and vultures. He breaks the heavy bones, obtaining a valuable bone marrow. This is a concentrate of calories and fat, so necessary for its growing brain. The diet is complemented by tubers and fruits collected on the way. Thanks to stone tools, he is the first to increase the share of meat in food in evolution. Homo rudolfensis, 2 million years ago, Kenya. Its large head hides the developed brain, and massive jaws and strong teeth allow you to extract more diverse food. Rudolfensis not only uses stone tools to extract meat, but also actively collects heavy, tightly skipped nuts and seeds. Its powerful jaws can easily crush the shell of the baobabs and large legumes, gaining access to fatty pulp and seeds. Sometimes it joins habilis in search of carcass, complementing the diet with animal protein and fat. Homo ergaster, 1.5 million years ago, Eastern and South Africa. In the vastness of the African savanna, the sun rises and a group of ergasters sets off. They are higher and slimmer than their ancestors, perfectly adapted for long-term transitions. Ergaster is the first long-distance runner in history. Its way of hunting is called an enduring chase. Several hunters pursue a large antelope or zebra for many hours, gradually exhausting it. Thanks to powerful sweat glands and direct physique, ergasters do not overheat in the heat. The prey, exhausted, stops, and the hunters score it with wooden spears and stone axes. Ergaster, for the first time, regularly consumes meat of large animals, increasing the brain and social ties. Homo erectus, 1 million years ago, China, Indonesia, Java. Under the starry sky of Java, the first fire, diluted by people, burns. A group of Asian erectus gathers around the fire. Their faces are lit by a flame. Asian erectus, master of the collective ambush. They surround large herbivores such as stegodones and buffalo, driving them into traps or to the edge of the gorge. Using wooden spears and stone chopped, they kill or seriously injure prey. Erectus actively uses fire to make meat and scolding predators. Crabs, fish, and freshwater mollusks, collected along the coast of rivers and lakes, appear in their diet. Homo antecessor, 800,000 years ago, Spain, Adapur. On the hills of ancient Europe, in the Adapur caves, antecessor appears, a hunter whose diet is amazing with diversity. Antecessor is an ambush specialist. They track deer, wild horses, and young mammoths, patiently awaiting them on watering or in narrow passages. Collectively pouncing into prey, they use stone chopping and heavy sticks. In hungry times, antecessor shows stiffness, sometimes engaged in cannibalism to survive in the harsh conditions of the Ice Age period of Europe. Homo heidelbergensis, 700,000 years ago, Africa, Europe. A group of Heidelberg people carefully moves through a dense forest. They are large, massive, with powerful muscles and brain volume close to modern man. Homo heidelbergensis. His hunt is a well-thought-out ambush and group drive actions on large animals such as rhinos, elephants, and giant deer. They dig pits tramps, use fire, and organize complex ambushes, driving prey in the gorges or swamps. Stone spears and throwing tools affect the prey at a distance, reducing risks for hunters. In addition to meat, they actively collect nuts, mushrooms, roots, and berries, making the diet as balanced as possible. Homo naledi, cave hunter, 335,000 years ago, South Africa. Deep in the cave raw ascending star, South Africa, in a semi-gang, Homo naledi masters a unique environment. Tall more than 3 feet, it is surprisingly primitive, but already has developed intelligence. Naledi, night hunter and collector. He deftly climbs on the steep walls of the caves, tracking the sleeping bats and hiding insects. Its thin fingers are ideal for catching crickets and grasshoppers. On the surface, he collects fruits and roots, and occasionally in small groups surrounds small animals, catching them with his hands or knocking them down with sticks. Its strategy is flexibility and collectivism, allowing you to survive in difficult conditions. Homo floresiensis, 100,000 years ago, Indonesia. Miniature people live on the tiny island of Flores. Hobbit, their growth does not exceed 3 feet, but they are smart and dexterous. Floresiensis, a hunter for giant rats, lizards and dwarf elephants of the stegodons. Using wooden spears and traps, they arrange ambush for prey, significantly exceeding them in size. They catch sea booty, mollusks and crabs on the coast, collecting them in stone baskets. In their menu, everything that can be caught or collected, but the main success was the joint persecution and a perish of prey. Homo luzonensis, 67,000 years ago, the Philippines. Another island dwarf lives on the island of Luzon. Homo luzonensis. Tall, slightly above the Floresci hobbit, it is also isolated and unique. Luzonosinus hunts local monkeys, small deer, and giant bats. It is skilled in the manufacture of primitive wooden copies and stone flaws that help him catch prey in thick tropical forests. On the coast, he collects seafood, shells, oysters, and small fish, using tools to open shells. Like Floresiensis, Luzonensis skillfully combines hunting, fishing, and gathering. Homo longi, about 146,000 years ago. China, merchant status. In the glacier valley of northern China, man-dragon tracks the prey. Its skull is large, with massive tunes. The body is strong and powerful, adapted to a cold climate. Longi prefers a hunt for large animals, such as wild bison and horses. Its strength and endurance allow you to cope even with aggressive prey. He uses primitive throwing spears and heavy stone chopping to strike deadly. His food is complemented by river fish, which he catches with spears in cold northern rivers, and wild fruits collected in a short summer. From Ergaster, the first marathon of Savannah, to the massive Dragon Man, these ancient people turned the hunt from simple survival into art. Their ability to work together, to use tools and fire, provided them with an advantage over other types and prepared the ground for Homo sapiens.
In the Cambrian seas, about 500 million years ago, an indisputable ruler was Anomalocaris. It was a giant of his time, reaching a meter or 3 feet in length. His impressive grasping appendages, similar to flexible claws, were an ideal weapon to capture prey. A round mouth with sharp plates easily grinded the shells of trilobites and other invertebrates. Leaping to the victim, thanks to excellent vision, the Anomalocaris rushed forward sharply, grabbing the helpless prey with his mighty appendages, after which it ruthlessly grinded its hard cover. This ancient predator has forever changed the rules of survival, turning the Cambrian Ocean into a place of brutal struggle for life and starting a real evolutionary arms race. Dimetrodon, being one of the main predators of the early Perm period, hunted mainly on other inhabitants of coastal swamps and reservoirs of that time. Its prey was large amphibians, for example, erectus, fish, such as xenocont, as well as the smaller or young individuals of the pelycosols related to him, for example, edifisaurs. Thanks to powerful jaws and sharp teeth of different sizes, Dimetrodon could effectively attack and hold the victim, often in wait for it in water or in shallow water. Opavia. This is one of the most unusual predators of the Cambrian period. A creature of no more than a human palm had 5 eyes and a unique grasping trunk with tenacious claws at the end. Smoothly moving above the bottom of the ancient seas, Opavia looked out for small invertebrates hidden in silt. Noticing the booty, she lightly threw her flexible proboscis, grabbing the victim tenaciously and quickly sent it right into her mouth. Herdia. The cruel hunter of the Cambrian period and the closest relative of the famous Anomalocaris. This creature, armed with a massive head shield and strong, grasping appendages, reached the size of up to 60 centimeters or 23 inches. Thanks to the sharp vision and powerful jaws, Herdia tracked down large invertebrates, such as trilobites and sea worms. She quickly attacked the prey, capturing it with tenacious limbs and ruthlessly grinding shells. Herdia was the embodiment of Cambrian horror. This is a real sea predator that made the evolution move forward. Zenusia. The amazing and bizarre creation of the Cambrian seas, similar simultaneously to a worm and arthropod. Small, about 5 centimeters or about 2 inches in length, it was covered with sharp spikes that protected from attacks and helped to keep small invertebrates. Zenusia slowly moved along the seabed, patiently looking for prey among silt and algae. Noticing the victim, she suddenly rushed forward, grabbing the prey of Saint Omi tenacious limbs and piercing it with sharp spikes. Patoi. A strange, disc-shaped hunter of the ancient Cambrian seas, reminiscent of a floating pineapple with sharp mouth appendages. Without exceeding 15 centimeters or 6 inches in length, it slowly moved in water, looking for small prey and plankton. Her round, radially located jaws served a trap for invertebrates, which accidentally fell into the zone of her hunting. Instantly slamming her sharp plates, the Patoi effectively seized prey, turning peaceful plankton into a nutrient lunch. This Cambrian hunter perfectly combined filtration and active predation. Trilobites. The most successful and numerous creatures of the Cambrian period. Among them were real hunters, such as olenoids. These arthropods possess strong shells, excellent vision and tenacious limbs, which allowed to rapidly overtake prey. They hunted small worms, primitive crustaceans and other invertebrates, quickly grabbing them with their powerful front paws and grinding them with rotary appendages. The trilobites did not just survive, they dominated the ancient seas, setting the pace of the Cambrian arms race. Camarocras. The giant sea predator of the Ordovician period. The real lord of the ancient oceans, which reached a length of up to 10 meters or 32 feet. Possessing a huge cone-shaped shell and powerful tentacles, he laid the prey from the ambush. His victims were trilobites, early cephalopods and primitive fish. Grabbing the prey with a swift movement of the tentacles, Camaracaras easily crushed her shell with his sharp, coraceous jaws, leaving no chances to the victims. In the Ordovician seas, a cruel struggle for survival reigned. Orthocras, a quick and agile hunter with a straight-pointed shell, used reactive movement, rapidly catching up with small fish and arthropods, capturing them with tenacious tentacles and tearing with sharp jaws. Megalograptus, a ferocious racoscorpion, lurked in an ambush on the seabed. Armed with long extremities with sharp claws, he grabbed prey, trilobites and other small creatures, tearing their strong shells. Isotellus, giant trilobitus, was both a predator and a center. Slowly moving along the bottom, he hunted worms and small invertebrates, grabbing them with strong front limbs and grinding with powerful mouth organs. These Ordovician hunters determined the rules of the ancient seas and gave impetus to the development of many new forms of life. The Silurian period turned the oceans and the first lands of the planet into the arena for a brutal battle for survival. In these ancient waters, the Pitrispis lived. This is an armored fish with a powerful head shield and a mobile body, perfectly adapting wrapped in active hunting. He rapidly pursued small marine invertebrates, sucking the prey with a quick movement of the body and protecting himself with strong armor from other predators. But real horror lurked slightly above the food chain. Eurypterids, known as racoscocorpions, reached giant sizes, up to 2.5 meters or 8 feet in length. Their largest representative, the Pheregetus, armed with powerful claws, mercilessly broke the trilobites and captured the early fish, pursuing them in a quick and merciless pursuit. On land, a meter-giant scorpion named Britain Scorpio began his journey. His weapon was strong claws and a deadly poisonous sting. Lasting the prey in an ambush, the Brontoscorpio inflicted an accurate injection, paralyzing the victim in a matter of moments, after which he calmly proceeded to the meal. Meanwhile, in the water, among corals and sea thickets, Burkania deftly hunted. A small biceless fish, rapidly rushing to small invertebrates, capturing them with a suction and quick jerks of their flexible body. Finally, the climate armed with spikes patrolled the shallow water, where in sharp attacks he hit his prey, small fish and invertebrates. His spiked body served both protection from large predators and weapons of attack. These predators ruled Silurian ecosystems, forcing other creatures to adapt, evolve and improve their protection mechanisms. Their merciless hunt formed a world in which the victory gets the strongest, fast and cunning. In the Devonian Ocean, full of life and new forms, the top of the food chain was firmly occupied by Duncleo, supergigant reaching 9 meters or 29 feet in length. His massive head was covered with bone-armored plastons, and instead of teeth, bone plates are sharp, like razors, closed with monstrous power. He attacked at a lightning speed. There was enough one bite to crush the shell of the victim. Its prey became fish, mollusks and even other predators. He did not spare anyone, even relatives. Cladocelachi quickly flashed nearby. An early shark, devoid of scales, with a streamlined body and developed sensory organs. Her hunt was a matter of accuracy and speed. She overtook small fish and squid-like creatures, sharply rushing forward and capturing the prey with sharp teeth. And her strange relative followed her. Stethocanthus, a shark with a bizarre anti-wing on the back. He was slower, but more cunning. Probably masked and hunted from an ambush, abruptly rushing at the careless inhabitants of the reef. Pandorikes was hidden in coastal shallow water. Fish with a flat body and eyes looking up. He hunted small fish and water invertebrates, creeping down from below and firing sharply to the target. It was an ambush nik, idealna prisposobljeni kahotivteni vodorisli I karak. And in fresh ponds, Yekotopterus was hunting. This is a gigantic Rhacoscorpio up to 2.5 meters or 8 feet long. He used his claws to grab fish and other arthropods, quickly tearing them into pieces. His grip left no chance. Lipteri fish hunted on the verge of water and land. Eusthenopteron and Tiktaalik. Their fleshy fins allowed to crawl along the bottom and even partially go on land. They laid the prey in coastal mud, worms, crustaceans and small fish, and abruptly attacked, using powerful jaws. These predators were not just hunters. They became a bridge between life in the water and the conquest of land. Carboniferous period. This is the time when the earth was breathing with a wet steam of swamps, and the air was saturated with oxygen, as if preparing to fuel giants. Among dense forests and dark ponds, strange, frightening predators roamed. Megaorina, massive arthropod with thick armor and claws, glided along the bottom of reservoirs. Despite the long-standing confusion with the spiders, it was a watercourse. His hunting strategy is patient. He buried in silt until the prey passed. Larvae, mollusk or small fish. With lightning accuracy, he attacked, grabbing the victim with sharp appendages. On land, an Arthropus rack imposingly. Colossus more than 2 meters or 6 feet. Although it mainly ate vegetation, in conditions of lack of food could become omnivorous. Soft animals, larvae, eggs and the rest of the trifle. All this could become an easy prey of its powerful jaws. In gloomy thickets, she reigned, like an armored train, not meeting equal. In the air, the heaven of Meganera cuts in the air with a whistle. This is a giant dragonfly with a wingspan up to 70 centimeters or 27 inches. Her huge eyes gave a panoramic review, and paws with spikes grabbed prey directly in the flight. She caught small insects, butterflies, spiders, and even young amphibians with surgical accuracy, turning air into the arena of quick and merciless hunt. Eriops lurked off the coast of the swamps, a 2-meter predatory amphibian with powerful paws and a wide mouth. Erio's length 6 feet, and this is also not bad. Having sowed in the coastal tin, he was waiting for the victim, fish, insect or small animal, and the predator rushed with a swift jerk. His teeth were sharp and reliable. One grip, and prey disappeared in the throat. Finally, the first reptiles and stegocephals, such as Hylonomus, scurried about the undergrowth. Their advantage, dexterity, speed and sharp teeth. They hunted everything that was placed in their mouths. Zhukov, worms, larvae. Quickly running along the bark of trees and among the foliage. They used vision and instinct for an accurate attack. This was the first great hunting on land. The beginning of the era of ground predators. The Perm period became the time when the predators finally went to land and took under control. And in a later Perm, a real monster appeared. Foreign expenses, representative of the Gorgonops. Up to 3.5 meters or 11 feet in length, with saber-shaped fangs, he was the supreme predator of the late Perm world. He could bite even a dense skin of large herbivores, such as Pyrrhizosaurs. His hunt was swift. A sharp throw, a powerful bite in the throat, and the victim fell to the ground without a chance of salvation. In the crevices of stones and among the undergrowth, a pulmana scorpion was hidden. A giant scorpion up to 70 centimeters or 27 inches. He was a night hunter, hunting for insects, worms and even small vertebrates. His strong claws held the victim, and the poisonous sting dealt a mortal blow. The ambush was his main weapon. Meanwhile, Simuria, the transitional form between amphibians and reptiles, hunted both on land and near reservoirs. She ate insects, small lizards and worms. Fast, flexible, with sharp teeth, Simuria rapidly attacked the prey, grabbing it from a short distance. Among the more mobile predators, Varanops stood out. Long-legged, clever hunter. He could run, climb and actively chase prey. These were lizards, amphibians and young animals of other animals. He hunted during the day, with excellent vision and quick reactions. So in the Perm world the first real sushi hunters formed, whose descendants will once become animals, dinosaurs, and us.
When the era of dinosaurs ended, the time of new animals and no less interesting creatures about which we will now tell you immediately. Paleogene period. In the interval between chalk extinction and the heyday of modern mammals, evolution has withdrawn two giants, Gastornis and Endracoteria. They are easy to imagine predators to the colossus, but nature gave them different food strategies, and hunting for everyone looked in their own way. Gastornis. He lived 56 million years ago. Almost a 2-meter bird with a massive, axial beak for decades was considered the terror of Paleocene. In the foreground were powerful jaw muscles, grabbing beaks and strong legs, capable of developing a short jerk of up to 30 miles per hour. In classical reconstruction, Gastornis lied to small ungulates like eopers, attacked the thickets and inflicted a crushing side blow with its beak, breaking the bones of the skull. Nevertheless, the new isotopic and microscopic enamel tests show that his diet was most likely plant or omnivorous. Strong seeds, fruits, roots complemented by carrion or invertebrates. Hence the hunt came down to a demonstration of power. The formidable roll of wings and beaks scared away competitors from the abundance of forest seeds, and the fast pursuit of small animals was a rare, but possible episode. Endracoteria lived on Earth 35 million years ago. The largest ground mammal of all times. Up to 15 tons weighing, height in the shoulders 16 feet. This animal did not hunt in the usual sense. His prey was the tops of the trees. His weapon was a 7-meter neck, a flexible upper lip and mighty shoulders that allow you to bend acacia trunks. He slowly moved through the open wooded expanses, like a living crane, breaking off the branches, which no other herbivores had reached. Every day, Endracoteria tore into a ton of foliage, so the hunting strategy was continuous migration between the groves so that the plants have time to recover. The giant was defended passively. An impressive growth, thick skin, and a powerful impetus scared away predatory creodonts and early saber-toothed. So he almost did not know the active battle. Thus, Gastornis intimidated the rivals and, possibly, occasionally tracked out living prey, while Endracoteria hunted to the tops of the trees, turning the height and mass into an unrivaled food advantage. For beasts from the early Cenozoic: Meritaria, Hyenodon, Entelodon, and Diodon. Each in its own rules by ancient plains, forests, and river floodplains. Their prey and the tactics of food mining demonstrate the whole range of strategies that nature has experimented over the past 40 million years. Meritaria, Eocene, early Oligocene, North Africa. Although the name of this small, meter is trunco often meets next to the word hunter. In fact, Meritherium was a peaceful semi-alicious herbivore, closer to a modern tapir than to an elephant. His prey were soft escapes of marsh plants, rhizomes, water lilies and, probably, dense bundles of reed along the edges of the lakes. The weapon of prey: the mobile lip mini chobot and the cutters of the fangs with which he pulled out the roots from silt. Tactics: in the afternoon, Meritaria went into the water almost on the back to avoid overheating and predators. At night I got out on a hard surface and bent the bushes. Protection: in addition to the swamp, cohesion was the best weapon. The finds show that Meritherium often lived in small groups, where adult animals obscured young animals. Hyenodon, Paleogen, the beginning of Miocene, Eurasia, and North America. Hyenodon looked like a cross between a large wolf and a cat saber-toothed, but belonged to the extinct creators. The largest species reached 5 feet in the shoulders and weighed up to 1,100 pounds. Pre-motion, Paleogene nasopharyngeal tapirs, primitive camels. In the footsteps of the bones, it is clear that the hyenodon sniffed the skull of the victim with a powerful scissor-like closing of the jaws. Hunting tactics. Hyenodon was a sprinter of the interceptor. A flock of several individuals with a short jerk drove the animal to the gorge or firebox of the lowland. Then the leader applied the closing bite on the basis of the skull. Competitors. Early bears and amphies. The archaeology of bites shows that hyenodon often took the prey by force, relying on the highest density of tooth enamel. Entelodon. Early average oligo, Eurasia. The formidable hellish pig entelodon with a head resembling a crocodile and a mass of up to 450 kilograms or 1,000 pounds combined the strategies of an omnivorous scavenger and an active pursuer. Pre-motion. Small ungulates, eggs of ground birds, cubs of Indricoterias, as well as carrion. Hunting. Running long distances. Entelodon was able to hold the gallop longer than the Mesohippus horse and could smoke young animals from thickets. His teeth were equally well adapted for both bone crushing and for gnawing nuts. Special tactics. This is psychological pressure. The animal published low, bass grunts and demonstrated long fangs, forcing weaker creatures and small amphies to retreat from the carcass. Diodon. Late Oligocris, early Miocene, North America. The closest and most massive cousin of Entelodon, Diodon shoshinensis, weighed to 1 ton and towered above the prairie by almost 6 feet. Pre-motion. Mesonychia, young rhinoceratids, turtles, and Creparian horses. Bird nests with a thick shell also left characteristic traces of a diodon bite. Hunting methods. Dressing. Diodon inflicted his head on the run, breaking the ribs to the enemy, then unfolded and bitten a large muscular piece. When hunting large rhinos, he applied the strategy of exhausting pursuit in open areas, taking advantage of the fact that the massive body was cooled through huge ear sinks and elongated muzzle. Diodon, unlike Entelodon, was apparently a loneliness. The huge sizes and bone cheeks of the bugers on the zygomatic arcs served not only a punishing ram, but also a visual signal. It is better to give way. From the swamps of Africa to the prairies of North America, these 4 creatures represent the widest palette of strategies. From the calm raking of the reed to the saber-toothed bites and the dasket of the Dawserney ramers. Each of them was a challenge to its time, and the variety of their techniques demonstrates that the path from searching for food to modern complex ecosystems ran through endless experiments of nature in the field of hunting, strength, and adaptation. Arsinoteria. Late Eocene, early Oligo, Delta of North Africa. Imagine the marshy mangrove forest Fium. Warm water, clay islands, and low thickets of magnolia. Knee in the silted puddles wanders 2-rope Arzina weighing up to 4 tons. Its colossal, towing hooks diverging out is not a weapon of persecution, but a lever. The animal brings horns to the trunk of a young mangrove tree, makes a short push with his shoulders, and the plant is completely poured. While the trunk lies in the water, the giant slowly cuts off fleshy leaves and bark. This is that neither crocodiles nor competing tapirids can do. Thus, the extraction of Arsenaria is obtained with the help of strength and lever, not speed. Brunodoteria or Megacerops. Late Eocene, open plains of North America. The herds of primitive sheepskin paste raise dust, and pairs of powerful animals rise among them. Brontoteria resembles a modern rhino, but its forked bone horn sticks not on the nose, but at the end of the elongated muzzle. Animal diet. These are young shoots of maples and platans that grow along alluvial channels. The tactics are simple. The beast enters the thicket, rests with a horn into a thick bush, tilts his head and, like a bulldozer, breaks the branches on edible fragments. When meeting with other Brontotherias, males probably arranged auditory duels. They collided in the forehead, trying to push the opponent from the best area of greenery. Hunting Brontotheria is the conquest of the territory with the most nutritious undergrowth and a demonstration of power, and not the persecution of prey. Halicotheria. Miocene, Pliocene, Eurasia and East Africa. The last heroes seem to have a fantasy illustrations. A tall hump on the back, long front limbs with large claws and short hind legs. Halicotherium does not chop bushes with horns and does not fall off the trees with his shoulder. He uses the paws hooks. In the relict forest, the animal rises almost vertically, leaning on a powerful pelvis, stretches out hands, clings the upper vehicles with crooked claws TKI acacia and attracts them to powerful lips. Leaves, fruits, delicate bark is an access without the struggle for heights with giraffes or elephants. Such a strategy for highly intensified gardening leaves behind the competitors of ruminants who do not know how to climb the extreme border of the crown. If necessary, Halicotheria can bring down a dumped branch with claws to return to it later, when the leaves are gathered and become even sweeter. 55 million years ago, a beast the size of a border collie wandered in the arid of the north of the west of India and Pakistan. The packet set looked like a dense dog with an elongated face and all four legs. Only the gill bones of the ear gave his future whale relatives. Pre-motion. Fish, freshwater crustaceans, sometimes small reptiles and rocky eggs of coastal birds. Hunting method. Packet set was hidden in small water, lying literally on his chest to break sun glare. He listened to the underwater bones of the lower jaw, fixing the vibration of the abdominal fins of the fish. Then, a sharp jerk was thrown forward, grabbing the extraction of teeth with incisors. Theft on land complemented the diet with random carrion. His strategy. Srave quietly, hit quickly, typical for amphibious hunters. 5 million years later, the scene changes. The coastal mangers of the Fiume Gulf burst with seething herds. Ambulocetus is already 10 feet long, with all the signs of a sea predator. Lasts like hind limbs and flexible tail. But he could still walk. Pre-motion. Large fish, amphibians, terrestrial ungulates, who came to a watering water. Fragments of turtles are found in sharp teeth. Hunting method. The outpatient clinic acted according to the crocodile method. He quietly swam along the shore, only his eyes and nostrils stick out above the water, and then jumped up with lightning speed, clinging his teeth into the throat of the animal. With a complete immersion, he bent the spine in S-fit wave, developing a powerful underwater throw. On land, if the prey still ran away, the predator pursued it for several meters, leaning on large paws with fingers. Basilosaur. Open ocean emperor. 40 million years ago, the line of archaeocets loses its connection with the shore. Basilosaurus. This is a narrow, snake-shaped whale up to 59 feet long. This sea giant lived in warm proto-Perceval and Tetra seas. Pre-motion. Large bunkin fish, slopes, sharks and even young Dorodon whales. In the jaws of the basilosaur, their skulls with deep prosecutors are found. Hunting method. Complete water life demanded an open persecution strategy. The Basilosaurus started from the depths using the synchronous work of the body muscles, and rose at a speed of more than 15 kilometers per hour or 11 miles per hour. The streamlined form made it possible to change the corner sharply, intercepting the fish with a sign of the swallow. Against the small sharks, he resorted to the tail of the tail. The whale accelerated from below and a whip of the tail stunned the victim, after what he turned around and captured her with huge conical teeth. When attacking other whales, hunting turned into a sea duel. The Basilosaurus bitten part of the tail or fin, depriving the rival of the maneuver, then return behind the final bite in the skull or chest. Imagine 3 different worlds of early Cenozoic. Tropical rivers Paleocene, coastal plains of Eocene, and moist forest of Meso. Each of them reigned its own hero of hunting. The giant snake Titanoboa, the mysterious dog-lead Andrewsar, and a miniature, but the nimble primacy of Darwinius. 60 million years ago, the river of the Columbian Formation of Sarikon was teeming with 2-meter tarpon-like fish and small crocodiles. It was them that the champion snake pursued them, Titanoboa cerriginensis, up to 42 feet long and weighing over 1,500 pounds. The anatomy of the skull and teeth shows that the snake was primarily fishing. Numerous long teeth clung to slippery scales, and half-open mouth pulled water along with prey. However, the small Cerrigonesiccus crocodiles 6 feet long also often became dinner if they were ambushed among the roots of the mangroves. The hunting method resembled modern anacondas. The snake slowly patrolled the bottom, fixed the pressure with the sideline with the Jacobson organ, then with a sharp S-figurative throw she closed the jaw and wrapped the body around the victim, breaking the bones and closing her breath. Androwarch. Bulldozer, northwestern China. 40-5 million years ago, a beast appeared on the naval shallows of the Paleogene Mongolia, known only one, but of a giant cranial box, Andrewsarchus mongoliensis. The length of his head exceeded 80 centimeters or 2 feet, and the calculated mass reached 1,700 pounds. Judging by the shape of the teeth, the front dagger-shaped, the rear are flatly crushing. Androwarch was an omnivorous predator. He was looking for carcasses of discarded whales, crushed the shells of sea turtles and mollusks, but on occasion he could catch a living prey, young rhino, drywalls, large varan. The tactics consisted in a smooth, but inexorable persecution at low speed. The decisive moment, the most wide opening of the mouth and the closing of the jaws with a loud crack that can crush the tubular bones. Unlike flock of creodons, Androwarch acted alone, relying on the margin of strength of the jaws and a terrifying look. Darwinius. Night gardener of the Eocene forest. In the same Eocene, but in Lake Messel, German, a tiny, cat weight of the Darwinius macilli primate lived. The contents of its stomach are preserved in a stone plate. Leaves, seeds, and juicy berries. And not a trace of insects. His hunt was bloodless, but required dexterity. Darwinius moved along the middle tier of the crown, sliding with 4 grasping limbs along the branches. Hearing the rustle of a bug of a weevil or uvidev has a crimson fruit, he sharply rushed forward, fixing the prey with tenacious fingers with his nails, and not claws, a rarity for that time. Vision with large orbits made it possible to distinguish between the contrast of the fruits in the twilight, and the scum helped to find enzyming berries with maximum calorie content. A small thong and scissory incisors were perfect tools to bite the peel and scoop up the pulp. Titanoboa, master of a hidden river and a strangling throw. Androwarch, a tramp is a circus, turning everything edible into minced meat. Darwinius. Night fruit collector. Together they show how diverse the methods of extraction are even inside one geological gap. From a giant reptile and ground hypertension to a miniature primate, for which hunting is a search for the most ripe fruits. Paraceratoria. The largest ground mammal of all times. The 7-meter neck and the elongated upper lip allow him silently take off the crop from the tops of acacia, inaccessible to anyone else. If the branch is stubborn, the giant rests with his chest, pushes the barrel and breaks the whole crown. This colossus consumes up to a ton of foliage per day, which means its hunt is a continuous migration between groves so that the plants manage to grow. Nearby, but a little earlier, in Eocene North America, Winthateria wanders along a marshy fluid. 3 pairs of bone cones decorate the skull, and the saber-shaped tepla fangs look menacingly, but do not serve for murder. The beast bends young willow, and then hooks the bark with fangs, scraping it like a knife. In the dry seasons, he falls on the belly to the ponds and pulls out the rhizomes of the arrows with powerful lips, turning the swamp silt into his prey site. And finally, among the shady forests of the early Eocene, Egypt rides. A real horse, but still the size of an adult dog. The 4-fingered front and 3-fingered hind limbs help maneuver between the trunks. Its goal, young leaves, kidneys, and forest berries. Egypt stands on the hind legs, grabs the front to the thin trunk and tilts it to get to the juicy tops. If a predator is approaching, a mini horse instantly leaves the zigzags through undergrowth, where the long-legged pursuers get stuck. Did you like the video? Put your finger up and write comments. Subscribe to the channel right now. Do not forget about the bell so as not to miss new and interesting videos from the real channel Unreal.